This week, we hear a story of two brothers looking to save $1,000 and end up saving hundreds of thousands of dollars for their lodge. And on top of this, they've built something that so many others have attempted. What did they build? And how did they do it? All this coming right up. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode number 591. Right away, I want to thank our producers, fellows, contributors, and legacy partners for making this show possible. In a mission to bring light or philosophical understanding that speaks to the intrinsic nature of being a human in this plane of existence where we are all looking to answer those big questions. Freemasonry has been there since time immemorial, under various monikers, organizational titles, but the philosophy is ever present. The world's oldest and greatest fraternity has so much light to spread. And that's what we're trying to do with the Whence Came You podcast, to make the light of Freemasonry and its kindred sciences available to anybody interested in the royal art, as we say. If you want to know how you can help do this, head on over to wcypodcast.com, click on support the show, and see how you can help. In the news, the Midwest Conference of Masonic Education is just days away. I hope if you are interested in going, that you have procured your tickets and lodging and travel. I wish you a good trip. I'm very much looking forward to this year's conference. It is sure to be a little bit different with the great theme that Brother Chad Kopensky has come up with for this year, which is intentional Masonry. How do we enlighten and empower Masons to create a unified Masonic experience at various levels that reflects what is valued and unique about Masonry? We can pull that apart in several ways to come away with a very simplified statement. And if you'd like more information about this, please go ahead and check out a previous episode from February 8th, which was episode number 581, where we talked with Brother Chad Kopensky about this very thing. I hope to see you all there. We'll be there Friday night, along with guys that you've seen before, lots of great talent. I'm traveling down there with Brother Chad Lasik from our education committee, who sits on the committee with me, and also Brother Spencer Hamann, who is a very experienced educator and a wonderful DEO in the state of Illinois, in the 1st Northeastern District. For more information on the Midwest Conference of Masonic Education, visit mcme1949.org. Once there, you can just click on the news section, which has a little link for 2023 conference details and registration. That said, I'd love to get into this week's education from the Midnight Freemasons. We have an emeritus entry from Brother Adam Thayer, who of course is a past master in the great state of Nebraska, and he wrote an article called How Do You Eat an Elephant? We all know the punchline to this, one bite at a time, or something similar. But let's see what he has to say. How Do You Eat an Elephant by Midnight Freemason Emeritus Adam Thayer, past master. It's an oft-repeated joke around our lodge. How do you eat an elephant? We tell it to newly made entered apprentices when they're overwhelmed with learning, proficiency, etiquette, names, titles, meeting times, and everything else that comes with being a new member. We repeat it to the worshipful master when he has the inevitable mid-year freakout about how much he still wants to accomplish before the year is over, and he's asked to retire to the sidelines. But for the purpose of this article, it's a phrase that our temple board states at every meeting, every gathering, and every working day we hold. Our Masonic temple was built in 1934 and was, at the time, a state-of-the-art building. The building was purpose-built for Freemasonry and even includes a hidden room that you can only enter by being lowered into it for the York Rite degrees. Shh, don't tell anyone. It's not even on the blueprints. Every aspect of the building was designed for comfort during meetings, for providing a strong impression on candidates during degree work, and for being a family-friendly location for all of the various groups who meet there. Having said that, our temple was built in 1934. The walls are horsehair plaster, the oldest electrical is still cotton-wrapped, and the years have not always been kind. Maintenance has varied from we must do everything possible to take care of the building to who can we hire to fix this, to we can't afford to fix it, maybe if we don't look, it will stop. A few years back, when our building was hemorrhaging money faster than we could replace it, and things were falling apart faster than we could afford to fix them, two enterprising brothers had a revolutionary idea. Why are we paying someone to do a lot of this work when we can do it ourselves? In retrospect, it seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? Why pay hundreds of dollars a month for lawn maintenance when we all have lawnmowers, fertilizer spreaders, and access to all the same types of yard care equipment that the professionals have? Sure, it may take us a bit longer because we are using smaller mowers, smaller spreaders, and nothing that we can ride on, but there's no reason we can't spread the time to take care of a property we love so much. So these two brothers made a plan. Saturday mornings they would meet up at the building and work on cleaning up the yard themselves. If anybody else happened to be around and wanted to help, they'd be welcomed with open arms and pointed in a direction to work. That first year, we saved thousands of dollars on yard care. That same year, we also established a capital improvement and repairs fund. It could be tapped for emergencies, and there are always emergencies. Once summer was over and the yard work was done for the year, the brothers, who by now were quite more than just two, didn't want to stop coming down on Saturday mornings and decided to turn their attention to the inside of the building. After all, there were hundreds of little problems that we could fix ourselves, like leaky plumbing, flickering lights, crumbling plaster. Once they really started looking around the building, it became nearly overwhelming how much work had to be done. But how do you eat an elephant? Over the course of that winter, the tenants of the building started noticing changes. Problems they had complained about for years were getting fixed. Some parts of the building would suddenly become inaccessible for a time as they were shut down for refurbishment. A building that was feeling old and tired was suddenly trying to spring back to life, one small area at a time. Even more importantly, brothers from across the 4 lodges who called the building home were working together, cooperating, learning, and laughing in the process. Our building's Eastern Star chapter noticed it too and wanted to help out, but most of them didn't feel comfortable doing electrical work on a live circuit while dangling off a wooden ladder 15 plus feet in the air. And yes, that has happened. Don't tell OSHA. So they turned their focus to the large kitchen and started making breakfast for us while we were working. I wanted to be very clear that they volunteered for this. At no point did we ask. But they felt it was the best way they could contribute to the work, and we are incredibly grateful to Electa Chapter Number 8 for providing us excellent food every week while we were working. Within a few years, what began as 2 guys trying to save us a bit of money on yard maintenance has turned into a rotating team of 20 to 30 brothers and sisters who will come in for various projects, great fellowship, and amazing breakfasts. On any given Saturday, you might find 1 or 2 guys ripping into the plumbing issue while another small team is repairing plaster and repainting. Another group is cleaning up woodwork and yet another group outside working on a pavement issue. If you come down, you will be put to work, and you may end up heading up a project if you're particularly good at something. My own experience has been so varied, I don't even know where to begin. When I was added as a representative to the temple board, they immediately made me the IT director because I have some very, very limited experience with it, and have tasked me with projects as varied as covering the entire building with Wi-Fi to rewiring the lighting to be smart accessible, to installing security cameras, and my current project of putting speaker systems and Bluetooth receivers into both of our lodge rooms so people can hear better. I have learned how to plaster from Don, an 86-year-old man who is very active in the Eastern Star, but has just become active in the lodge over the past few years because he made so many friends while working. I learned maintenance of our aging boiler system from Matt, a 49-year-old man who constantly surprises me with the depth of his knowledge of obscure things. I've learned yard maintenance from Joe, electrical from Mike, and painting from Lynn. And what we don't know, we learn and teach each other. More importantly, we've all learned better teamwork and leadership, which we take back to our lodges and chapters to improve them as well. The Capital Improvements Fund has come in handy more than once when we've had to replace air conditioners, lay new carpeting, and hire other similar projects that were just too big for our experience and time to handle. We've gone from passing the hat each month to having an investment manager working to tell us the best timing to take on new projects. So why am I telling you all of this? Is it just to brag about how amazing things are going for us and make you wish you were us too? Of course not. Although I am very proud of what we've accomplished. It's to teach you something very important that you can use in your own lodge. How do you eat an elephant? Nothing we have done is unique, or requires much knowledge beyond, Alexa, how do I replace a sink?
According to WikiHow, to replace a top-mount bathroom sink.
Think of the projects your lodge would like to accomplish. It could be building related, like what I've listed above, but it could easily be have more active members, or be visible in the public, or add education to every meeting. Regardless of the project, if it's worth doing, it should seem overwhelming and impossible to accomplish. As an easy example, take have more active members. What are you going to give these members to do to be active? Where are you going to get them? If you bring in new members, you're going to need people who can do all the degree work, mentors to work with them, food and drink, and time. When you write down everything that you'll need to have in place to make it happen, you should be freaked out by it. And if you aren't, set your sights higher. Or maybe you're looking at something more personal, like learning a new lecture, weight loss, or quitting smoking. How about building up your skills to earn a promotion at work, buying a house? It's time for you to look inward and begin asking yourself the big questions. Who are you and what do you want? To quote every meeting of salespeople I've ever sat through, find out the why, and no one will stop you. Whatever you're looking at accomplishing, I know you can do it, but you have to start. Remember, 2 guys who said, we can mow the yard ourselves, have now, over the years we've been working, saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing it ourselves, have taught dozens of men new skills, and forged friendships across lodges that barely talked to each other before, even though we were still in the same building. Hundreds of thousands of entered apprentices over history have left their first degree thinking, I'll never learn all of this, and gone on to do amazing things in Freemasonry. Thousands of new worshipful masters have sat down with a plan of what they'd like to get done, and believed they could never do it all, while going on to bring massive improvements across their lodge. And I bet if we were to sit down with some Grand Masters, they would tell you the same thing. One of those 2 men I told you about is now turning his eye on our York Rite, being able to do all of the degree work ourselves without needing to send our brothers to a festival, and I have zero doubt that he will accomplish it. I know I'll be there, helping in any way I can, which gives us 2, and that's enough to make a massive change, especially when we start with something small like, let's get a team together who can do the Mark Master degree. I fully expect that if you check back with us in a few years, you'll find a fully functioning degree team running all the York Rite degrees and orders in-house. In the meantime, you'll still find us on Saturday mornings, repairing plaster, repainting decades-old paint, and discussing new projects we'd like to tackle. In between all the laughing, teaching, and occasional swearing at some unexpected problem, you might just hear some ritual practice happening too. Quite a few newer members have been able to pass their proficiency because of what they learned while we were pulling new electrical lines. But I really should at least tell you the rest of the joke. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Adam Thayer. A wonderful piece by Adam. Of course, I think we all knew the punchline to that joke, but really, this speaks to the larger idea of grassroots movements to solve problems. And something else that was interesting, right, is this often quoted by Simon Sinek, the why question, which actually Brother Greg Knott recently gave a presentation on for the Illinois Lodge of Research. We'll post that on the Illinois Lodge of Research website under the members section. You'll be able to watch it soon. But what's interesting about this idea is that if you figure out the why, then all of a sudden people come out of the woodwork to assist in the good works being done. People love to be on a winning team, especially when they can get behind the reasoning why we do something. And when they identify with that, they latch on. And this is a timely article considering we're moving into the summer months where we have more people coming out. And maybe it's time to assign a lawn care people, or if your lodge doesn't have a lawn, then guess what? It's now time to start working on the outside of the building and inside the building and doing little projects, or even just gathering. Is what tends to happen is these large teams start coming together, and there are many projects happening all the time. I have been to numerous lodges on visitations where I've been there like a day early and I get a tour of the building the day before, and there are lodge members at the building working on something. And it's really kind of cool. I love it. That's it for this week. Stay tuned for next week, where we'll have another education piece, and the week after that, a rundown of the Midwest Conference on Masonic Education. I want to thank our producers, fellows, contributors, and legacy partners for making this program possible. If you're curious on how you can help spread Masonic education to all those interested, then head on over to wcypodcast.com, click on Support the Show, and check out the various options. I want to also invite you to check out MasoniconChicago.com, where tickets are on sale right now for one of the largest Masonic education gatherings in the Midwest. Coming up on its second year, and it's going to be an amazing time. 7 speakers, 1-day education event. We've added hotels and things to the website so you know where to stay during your time up here. And we've got people coming from all over the United States, as far west as Oregon, as far east as Virginia, coast to coast. People are coming in. So again, I invite you to check out MasonicConChicago.com. And until next week, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.
WCY Media.
That's it. Cash girl.